Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the other half of these brand new Bandai capsule figures. This time we've got ourselves the Elasmosaurus and the Velociraptor. And honestly, these are two super cool models. Yet again, I think Bandai has done a great job on this line overall. Like, every single one of these figures that they have released have been, honestly, some of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to this size range, this type of figure. I really don't know if I've seen much better than this. And again, they've done a really good job on both of these as well. Really cool poses for them, nice paint apps, nice sculpts. But these, again, look super, super cool. So let's jump to a closer look at both and check them out from there. So we'll begin with the Velociraptor, and you can see the Velociraptor definitely has a pretty cool appearance to it. It actually has 1 foot up off of the ground, definitely giving it a pretty dynamic visual here as far as the overall scene it's trying to portray. We also have the mouth of the Velociraptor wide open, as it's clearly running in my opinion, for a kill of some kind on something. And again, that also helps to add to the dynamic visual for this model. As you see, starting up in the head sculpt, we've got some pretty nice looking skin texture. You can see the nostrils sculpted out there, the eyes painted with a nice bluish tone and a black pupil, which looks really cool. Again, the mouth is wide open, and the teeth, for how small they are actually very nicely sculpted and nicely painted. Look at how good they look. Again, that's pretty impressive. There's often sloppiness found on dinosaur models of a much larger size, but the teeth and everything on this are actually really nicely painted. Pretty decent precision when it comes to that paintwork, and you can see such a cool visual here from the front for the Velociraptor. We can see the tongue sculpted out in there. We've got a nice pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, and the detailing on the inside of the mouth on the upper side also actually looks really quite nice. And you can again see how nice and precise the paintwork for those teeth are. But as you move back into the neck of the raptor, you can see, first of all, the raptor has its head turned toward us, and you can also start to see some feathering pick up. We've got kind of like a yellowish tone, like a yellowish kind of a brown, but mostly more yellow, I would say, than anything. But there is a nice brown wash that's been applied. You can really see it back here when you look at the feathering and everything. They've done a very good job of really highlighting the detail in the feathers on the figure with that brown wash. You do also have a darker brown that's kind of dry brushed over the top, helping to as well highlight some of the feathers, but also just generally add a little extra variation of color to the figure. As you move down into the arms, you can see again some more variation of color. You can see the arms are held into the body. One's out extended a little bit further. This one's kind of held into the body a little bit more. We can see the yellows, we've got browns, we've even got blues out there as we move out into that plumage. And again, the feather detail is really nicely done. You can yet again see the wash present. We can also see the fingers right there, and the nails painted with a black. So again, the fingers actually painted with a brown as well. So again, lots of really nice paint work for the figure. There is a very obvious seam though as we lead out into that arm, but seams on these capsule figures is definitely something that is very common. As you move out a little further into the leg, you can see again the muscle definition and everything there tensing as the raptor's running along. You can see we transition to a brown as we move down into the foot. You've got the claw up there also painted with a nice glossy black, which again you can see kind of shining as the light hits it. You can also see the other foot planted nicely on a log as the raptor runs through what I would imagine is some sort of a forest setting. As you move up, you do have another seam here for the tail, because again the tail comes disconnected. You have to put that onto the raptor, but as we move out, you can see a nice curve to the tail. I personally would have preferred to see like some kind of really cool plumage out there on the end of the tail, but it still looks okay for what it is. Again, very nice, very fine feathering as you lead out through the rest of the tail of the raptor. And again, basically the mixtures of browns and yellows the entire way out. If you look at it from the opposing side, again, it looks pretty cool from over here as well. Again, as we move along, you can see how the arm is extended out further on this side. You can also see even a little more variation of color, I think, to the arm over here, because you can see it a little bit better. You can see there's like a light dry brushing added to it, and everything over here just a little bit more as far as the colors go. But you can also see how darn nice those feathers look on the arm as you move along. You can again see how the leg is connected on this side. You can also see again the Really impressive feather detail moving down, really impressive paintwork, and again, considering its size, like it's very small, so it's very impressive that it looks as good as it does, and you can see leading out, the tail curves now toward us. The tail actually has like a little area where you can connect to this log, and that's one of the things that helps it to stay standing. It's got like a peg that goes into the base down here, and then a peg here from the tail into the log, or I think actually maybe from the log into the tail, if I remember correctly. But you can see the log itself also looks really nice. Even has kind of like a slight greenish tint to it, so it has sort of like a mossy look, which I definitely think helps to give it that look of being a, tree laying in the forest of some kind. There also looks to be like some water right here that the raptor is kind of running and jumping over, which is pretty cool. But definitely a very, very impressive model of a super nice looking Velociraptor. And then we've also got the Elasmosaurus. Now the Elasmosaurus as well is extremely well done. You can see the head sculpt is very small. There is a very obvious seam here on the head sculpt, which isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I don't think it takes away too much from the figure. Again, capsule figures often have that kind of thing going on. You can see a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. The tongue sculpted out and painted in there. It's probably not going to focus too well on it. Oh, not at all, because the head is just so small, it's having a hard time focusing on it. But you can see the eyes are painted with a nice glossy black. The teeth as well are painted and sculpted again really quite nicely for its size. And like that's within my fingertip. That's crazy impressive. And you can even see a little variation of color here with some brownish tones and grayish tones and even a light hint of green, I think, in the head. As you move down into the neck, you've got a very long neck, of course, for our Elasmosaurus. And they've done a really good job of bringing the detail out. The skin texture actually looks really good on it. And they've done a great job of highlighting that with a nice dry brushing, adding in a little extra variation of color. You do have a seam as we move down into the neck, of course, again, that you can see right there, but it's not super obvious. But as you move down into the body of the Elasmosaurus, you can see again the fact that it is swimming, like you've actually got movement shown in the flippers and everything, as they're just slightly different as far as the positioning from side to side. Again, the texturing of the skin of the Elasmosaurus looks really, really good, and they've done an excellent job of highlighting all of the skin detail with this light dry brushing. And you can see as I kind of move the figure here in front of the camera, you got quite a bit of variation of color to it with greens and blues and grays throughout. You can see the flippers again look really good. The detailing around the flippers looks nice. You've got, skin wrinkles and folds and stuff as you lead closer to the flippers and you lead out into the tail, and you do have a slight twist to the tail. It kind of looks like you might have some small ridges of some kind moving along the top of the tail right there. If you take a look again from over here, you've got a really nice shot of the tail now kind of curving toward us, and then you lead up along the underside, and you can really see again how crazy impressive the fine detail here is on the underside of the Elasmosaurus, as well as you again lead up through the course of that exceptionally long neck. And then you also have a nice little area here at the bottom of the water where our Elasmosaurus is actually connected to. You can see it's kind of just like leaning against that right there, and you've got again nice variation of color, and again some greens and grays and everything added to this one to sort of give it that underwater look as well. And then of course the nice brown base underneath to give it a nice museum quality appearance. So again, gorgeous, just like every single one of these figures have been. As far as a size goes for our figures here for the Elasmosaurus, actually we're going to turn it so that I can make this a little bit easier. But for a length from the tail to the head, about 5 3/4 inches or around 14.5 centimeters. For a height, about 5 inches or 12.5 centimeters heading toward 13. And then for the Velociraptor, lengthwise, you were looking at about 4 3/4 inches or around 12 centimeters, maybe slightly over. And then the highest point would be the tail, just a hair under 3 1/4 inches or a little bit over 8 centimeters, heading toward 8.5, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Bandai capsule figures. And you can see that again, they're very small, like really impressive for their size, but definitely on the smaller side. But I mean, it's a capsule figure, you really can't expect something huge. We've also got a comparison here with a Mattel and Captives minifigure figure to help give you an idea of the size and the fact that they are definitely a little bigger than your average minis, but still by no means are they large. And then here is a comparison with the entire line of these figures. This time around, you've got the Styracosaurus, the Elasmosaurus, the Velociraptor, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex Part 2 with this wave of these Bandai capsule figures. Definitely going to keep my fingers crossed that we get more of these at some point in the near future. And then just for the heck of it, we have the Mosasaurus from Bandai next to the Elasmosaurus, just in case you were interested in seeing a comparison with the two marine reptiles from this series. There you go, definitely a very cool visual of these two together. So these brand new Bandai capsule figures are fantastic yet again. I would say they're probably some of the nicest figures I've seen come along in quite some time. At first, I was a little thrown off with the first few reviews of these when it comes to the seams, because the seams just stand out, but I'm kind of getting used to them now, and again, kind of getting used to that capsule style figure. And I can say again, they are so much more impressive than I feel like anybody was giving them credit for at first. And now actually having, again, wave 2 here, they just seem to be getting better and better, and the quality seems to be getting higher and higher. And the beauty of the figures far outweighs those seams, because I feel like they're just so nicely done. I almost don't even notice the seams because I'm so mesmerized with the beauty of the figures. Again, the Velociraptor is really nice looking. We've got a nice running pose. Honestly, just creating a nice visual in my head of this dinosaur running through a forest, chasing something smaller than it kind of, maybe not, maybe actually a little bit bigger, because actually it kind of looks like it's leaning up. So maybe there's like a group of velociraptors chasing something down in a forest, and this is just one of the many kind of running along, again, stepping off of a log, jumping over a stream, it kind of looks like. But again, this sculpt is super nicely done. We've got all sorts of really nice fine detail and extremely impressive paintwork considering its size. The only thing I would have liked to have seen would have been some nice plumage out there on the tail, but it's again just a minor nitpick. Then you also have the Elasmosaurus, and the Elasmosaurus is far and away one of the most impressive overall, because it is an Elasmosaurus and it is so unique looking with that long, windy neck. But they've done an excellent job on this one as well when it comes to the sculpt. The pose looks really good, looks like it's kind of swimming up really quickly to try to grab something to eat. And then we've also got nice paintwork on this one as well, with very naturalistic tones of color and a good bit of variation, as well as a lot of dry brushing. They've done a great job of really highlighting the detail on that Elasmosaurus in a very realistic way. I would say the marine reptiles might be some of the best in the line overall, because the Mosasaurus was awesome as well. But again, both of these figures are excellent. In fact, all 4 figures from this wave are excellent and high recommendations from me. I will do my best to try to find a link to include in the description where you can grab them for yourself if you would like. So make sure you check that link, and if I don't find one, good luck finding them again. They shouldn't be too hard to track down, and if you can find them, absolutely grab them. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.